All right, thank you for staying with us. Nigeria has taken a significant step in its agricultural mechanization effort with the arrival of the first batch of 2,000 Belarus tractors. This milestone reaffirms the government's commitment to modernizing agriculture, increasing productivity, and ensuring food security for all Nigerians. During an inspection at the site, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, expressed satisfaction with the progress. Senator Kyari confirmed that hundreds of tractors have already arrived, with more currently in transit. As part of this initiative, the 2,000 tractors have been deployed along with 9,072 diverse agricultural equipment designed to support various farming operations. But joining us in the studio is a food security expert, Africanfarmer Mogaji. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, this news of the 2,000 tractors and over 9,000 diverse other equipment coming into the country to, equip farmers and enable them farm better. How do you see this? Is this a step in the right direction, especially seeing that we are working towards food security?
I'm excited, and I cannot hide my excitement. Why? For over a decade, we've been going around analyzing, profiling solutions. So for the first time in a long time, you're seeing what you've been clamoring for. I was there physically. I was on a trip with the minister. The climate was not good, and they told us the number of hours we would be waiting. And they just said, let's go and inspect. So it was an unscheduled, unannounced inspection, and we saw the tractors. While we were there, some additional containers came in. These are top-notch, tractors. I've been around the sector 3 decades, 3 decades in September. And, Brazil, the best equipments that we use in Nigeria are still manufactured by the Brazilians. So the quality, everything about it, I'm just excited that they did not compromise quality. Very important, because what normally happens, we bring tractors that, from Europe, and you bring other low quality from Eastern Europe, and so you don't have parts that align. But these tractors are durable and solid tractors. So it's good news, for many players. Good news not because of the tractors. Good news of the ripple effect of what will happen.
Right.
Good news because many people now will begin to look at, can I bring in parts? Can I become a distributor? Will I be able to, set up service centers? It's going to have a lot of ripple effect, which is what government should really do. Be a springboard. Some will begin to bring in tires.
That's right.
So bottom line is, it's a welcome development. And I am hopeful that this year will be a food year.
You're so excited.
So you're thinking this is a game changer, but if you look at the Belarus tractors, according to reports, it said it's MTZ-A2. They are designed for heavy-duty plains, and but Nigeria's diverse terrain includes swampy areas and rainforest. Did we do proper, due diligence, ecological due diligence, to ensure that this tractor would definitely work in sensitive areas like, let's say, the Niger Delta, that have
yes,
ecological issues?
So there are 2-wheel tractors, they are 4-wheel. Okay, so the batch of that tractor is balanced. So there's the 80, the 90 horsepower, those tractors, it was well thought through. I did not know about the history before, but when we saw the tractors, I saw the documents. Okay, so it can work anywhere. There are some that will work in the heavy duty, there are some that will work in the light duty. Let me say this. The Fiat tractors, of old will work mostly in the north because it's not meant for southern heavy soils.
That's right.
Okay, where you have the MF, Master Ferguson, that does this here. This brand of tractors have both in their fleet. So the tractors I saw in Abuja as an eyewitness, I don't know, I don't know if they can show it. The tractors I saw was well thought through, that will be deployed to the right ecological division.
That's a tractor on the screen. Yeah.
This was what we never used to do. Buy equipment that will fit in well for both the north and the south. It used to be everything for the north. Now it's focused on all the regions, well thought through. I give a big kudos for the team who made the others, but most importantly, the Minister of Agriculture. You need to see this man. This man is well-read and exposed and practical. You know, you can hardly say anything that he does not have an idea of. And if he doesn't, you know, he has a conversation with you, but the next time you're talking with him, he has
updated his knowledge.
And that is what we need, leadership that cannot be bamboozled.
That's right, that's right.
So I'm excited. It's good news. I'm not a politician, but this is renewed hope for people in the agri sector. This is real renewed hope.
Like you say something like that.
Now, my concern is now deployment. We have more than 2,000 farmers and across the country, across the regions. I'm wondering how this will be distributed such that it gets to the real farmers who need it. I saw a clip recently from Sokoto where we're still seeing farmers using their hands to plant some things, talk about leeks and all of that. They were still struggling. And I'm wondering how would they take advantage of all of these tractors to boost their effort towards agriculture?
So these tractors will not fix all our problems at the same time. Okay? But it's a beginning. And like I said, it's supposed to trigger people to look into that value chain. Now, this tractor, what the minister said, it's not going to be business as usual. And that's why some of us in the private sector have been brought, you know, in to observe, and occasionally they seek our advice. What do you think? Now, this I am certain, based on the back door, the back room, you know, the strategy sessions that has happened, that it won't be a business as usual, where government will bring in tractors. Anything I say over the years, I witness. They bring in tractors. Some people will take the tractors and put canopies over it and not use it for 4 years. Now, what the minister has said is that there will be tracking devices. Some people are supposed to buy outrightly. If you want to buy a tractor in Nigeria as against bringing it in yourself, there's a 20 million naira difference. Wow. So the time it will take to bring it in and go, the people in the country are cashing out on it. So some people will be outrightly buying, which will save around that 20 million from them. So meaning their cost of production can reduce, while some will be service providers. Bottom line is, the tractors are here. We will monitor as private entities. We will monitor and show the devices. There are some states already that you see where the tractors are working, and which is what the minister said. Either they buy it privately, or it's a service provider conversation. They must be involved to track how many hours has it worked, where is it working. So everything will be monitored because government has invested in it. So whoever is buying locally is also buying subsidized.
No, I just need you to expatiate on the point you just made. Is the government selling this to farmers, or it is giving them for free?
There are different components of it. So the government, for the first time, is also considering commercial people, because commercial can produce volume and push to the market, which we need. There's a place for commercial. Over the years, well, administrations over the years have forgotten the commercial. They also need support. So there's a provision for that. There's a provision for small, older farmers. And that now, for the first time in history, there's always also provision for SMEs. There has not been provision for SMEs in about 2 decades plus.
So this 2,000 tractors will be spread across all of these categories of persons.
And the John Deere coming. So this year is projected 4,000 to come, which has not happened. 2 decades, this has not happened. So, but the good thing is, smallholder farmers, SMEs, which are the youths, and the commercial farmer, we're taking care of everything at the same time. I say we, you know. I'm thinking we.
All right, let's quickly take that clip where you were on, I think, one of the tractors, right?
Yes.
You were on one of the tractors.
Yes.
That's you. I guess that was
yes.
the container of loading the tractors
yes.
as they came. I'm wondering what the experience was like riding on it.
You know, I grew up with my father owning new tractors.
Oh.
You know, and when I saw the quality, I was just excited because many people were saying that, oh, it's refurbished, they just repainted it, you know. So when I had the privilege of seeing it and on, you know, announced, it was just something that just happened. Yeah. Like, can this be real? The quality was what made me do that video. And the video was saying, I'm not a government staff, I'm not a government contractor, but this is good news, you know. And you know, while the minister was doing an interview, I climbed on one of the tractors. And when I climbed on it, something dawned on me that as private sector, we're supposed to ride on the platform of government.
I like that. I like
you
that.
know, so
yeah.
and I'm excited.
I can see the excitement.
I'm happy.
It's palpable.
Yeah.
I'm happy. We're moving. We've been crying. The last 3 years has been devastating for many of us in production and processing, and this is hope.
Right, so hope for a whole lot of people, especially for someone like you who had been there and you saw the consignment and all of that. But what about, if you look at the National Bureau of Statistics recent reports, they said that 40% are rural, 40% of people in the rural are unemployed.
Yes.
So we have all of them tilling the ground, preparing the ground for cultivation and all of that. Do you not feel that these tractors that have now come in might impact on their job, like job losses for them? Because it looks like it will supplant what they're doing as farmers on the ground. So how do you think, while it's creating job for some others might be losing the jobs?
See, one of the reasons why our farmers are broke is because of land preparation. If you get your land preparation right, you are 40% set for profitability. So if the tractors prepare the land, the farmers can work on it even manual, okay? So bottom line is the rural farmers will make more money because they plant on soils that are not well prepared. Yeah. So the roots of the crop find it difficult to go down, to take nutrients from deeper. So with the tractors now, the farmers will make more money. This is the time.
No, I'm not talking about the farmers. I'm talking about those who assist the farmers in tilling the grounds.
The ground.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
They'll be losing their jobs.
The casual labor.
Do you know the labor deficit we have in the country? As of 4 or 5 years ago, we were using more foreign laborers. Burkina Faso,
Niger,
Togo, Niger. So right now, the currency has made it practically impossible for them to come in. We have heavy labor deficit, which is why mechanization is the way to go. Those people assisting will now own farms. I can tell you a thug in Shekweteri, who used to follow politicians, owns farms now, makes money, big time. So what we're saying is these people will also be able to take on opportunities to become entrepreneurs rather than working. So we will have more productivity. We would have less urban-rural migration. This is good news if the government communicates properly.
I like that part, strategic communication that would attract young persons to take advantage of this and also rural farmers. But on the other hand, yes, we have the mechanism now, talking about the machines to do that. We have, on the other hand, credits that they need to fund whatever it is they need to fund as it is, so that everything will be balanced for them. Do we have now provisions? Because you mentioned earlier that some persons would need to buy this, but they need credits to be able to get these things.
You know what excites me, I'm quick to say this, I don't work for government, okay?
Right.
I still volunteer. Is that the president has approved, I think, 1.5 trillion or so, if my data is right, for Bank of Agriculture. And the Bank of Agriculture MD told me in person last week and said, you go get me the youths and see if we will not fund them. If you don't bring them into the structures needed, the funding may have a challenge. And said, if you don't get the youths to come, the funds cannot sit idle. When the big farmers come, they will take the money. So he put the responsibility back on us, said, galvanize your network across the country and bring these youths, but be willing to contribute, which is monitor these youths, but we will fund them. So in terms of funding, the National Agricultural Fund also, headed by the Executive Secretary, Mohammed, a young person too. So when it comes to funding, the government has improved, dramatically on how things will be done. So bottom line is that everything is going at the same pace, at the same time, the way we have been clamoring for it. My fear and my concern is that, and the irony of Nigeria, is that Nigerians are trapped in Nigeria's past. Nigerians are trapped in Nigerians' past.
Expatiate, please.
Now, so because we have been used to things not working, we've been used to government brings it in, it ends up somewhere else, many people are not taking advantage of it. It's the foreigners that are taking advantage of many of these policies meant for Nigerians. So we need to be able to communicate more. I have said it, the administration is still not doing very well with media communications around the opportunities they are creating. Especially targeting the youth. We need more on that. The funding is there, the enabling environment is there, more experts are there, practical. So we need that communication. That gap of communication needs to be filled. We need more television programs, we need more radio programs so people know where what is.
Yeah, that's right. So if you look at Belarus now, this came from Belarus, but we see the contiguity of Belarus to Russia-Ukraine war. I guess that's one of the reasons why they couldn't deliver last year.
Yeah.
But are we not looking at the challenges of bringing this in, looking at the foreign exchange? Is it not cost effective for us to think of how to produce this, to manufacture this locally? I think there was something that we did, the partnership we did between government and John Deere in 2022, but that large scale production remains a challenge. So is there a way we can, have to manufacture this in this country so that we reduce the cost of production?
So there was a conversation with the Minister of Agriculture, I think sometime last year, and he made mention of some young person in Jos and some other areas in the country who are also assembling smaller tractors that will be explored now. But most of the lands need heavy equipment to first work on them before the lower capacity tractors manufactured in the country. So I believe the next phase is for the minister and the ministry and finance to look inward. But everything is still imported.
Yeah.
Even the small assembled or manufactured tractors in the country, you still import the engine, you still import everything.
Isn't that a worry for you?
Well, it's inevitable. That's how it works globally. Everybody imports. Russia imports. US imports. Everybody imports. We cannot eliminate imports.
Yeah.
Food security in any country is not dependent on that country. There's a component that the country will focus on, which is their strength, and leave the remaining. But everybody, by the time if Ajakuta, comes into operations, then the plow, arrows, the implements they can start with that and move into the next level. We're hopeful that Ajakuta is crucial to food security.
Absolutely.
Because all the implements deal with the steel.
Yeah, that's great.
So once that is on board, but before then, we need to also understudy. And the good thing with what government is doing right now is they're not just bringing parts. Assembling and manufacturing will take up in another phase. So it's a process. So we get our people to understudy how to work these things before we decide we want to set up. A company brought in tractors some years ago just to find out that there were no tractor drivers as a business. So there's a process, a whole lot of value chain. So we need to train more operators who will not flog these machines. Because when the tractor is new, if you see the operators driving a brand new tractor, they just drive like, you know, people speeding on the main road. They see stones, instead of avoiding, they run it into...
Yeah, it's a tractor, so you can withstand any terrain.
But the wear and tear, the maintenance, mechanization is hinged on maintenance.
That's another issue.
So, you see...
Do we have that on the ground?
We have many youths being trained. But most importantly, we have many rural youths willing to be trained because they earn per day. And the average youth today wants to buy data or something.
That's correct.
So this mechanization helps to bring the rural youths on board to learn fast because it helps them with their daily pay.
Now, you mentioned something earlier, talking about the fact that Nigerians are still living with the ghost of the past, thinking things are not working and all, and so giving room for foreigners to take advantage of this. How do we address that aspect? Because when you go to some other countries, it is the indigenes first as against foreigners. But here, what can we do really? That's my question, to ensure that we take advantage and just allow the foreigners to say, you know what, just take a backseat first of all. Let's engage our people first.
So one of the things that need to happen is what I'm doing on this seat today, giving eyewitness accounts. We need people who see what is working and the progress happening to report it. It should be less of government reporting what they are doing. So the more people who are bold, who are passionate, who are patriotic, needs to come out to say, I'm saying this is moving in the right direction. Government needs to fund media. During elections, politicians are hinged on media and communications and campaign. We need those strategies that they adopt during election to bring in here.
Shouldn't that be part of the budgeting of the ministry itself?
Yes, it's part of the budgeting, but beyond, not just ministry, even the Asorok Villa needs to double the ministry. Finance is funding, okay, so finance also needs to talk. But bottom line is, we need word of mouth. We need to showcase, and by the time these tractors are deployed, we need more people, you know, we need to know where they are going. Take, for instance, part of the fertilizers that President Tinubu, the 2.1 million, shared. One of the senators got some consignment. Senators got, honorables got. I was in a village in Itoikin, and I was talking to some farmers, and they told me that, if you have opportunity to go on radio, thank Senator Abiru. I've not met the man before. I said, why? They are non-indigens from Delta who are in the community there. They said they budgeted for them. And so they got the fertilizers as non-indigene farmers. And that word of mouth, they were asking me if I go on radio, I should say, which I've done now. Right? So word of mouth moves.
That's right.
The impact needs to be shown.
So when we have the tractors doing the job for us, because we're saying that we have a lot of challenges cultivating our lands, boosting our crops and all of that. Now the tractors are helping us. And according to data, 70% of Nigeria's roads are paved. That's according to World Bank, and 40% of harvest spoil post-production. So we have a lot of them, and what do we do about the roads that we need to get them to the, to the market, and storage, which you've talked about as a challenge for us?
See, in practicality, I'm practical. Government may not be able to fix these roads now. It's capital intensive. It has to be budgeted for. We need to invest more in small-scale cottage processing, which BOI is in charge. We need BOI to throw in more intervention projects, developmental projects. If we produce and process at village, at small scale, we will be adding value. Most of what we transport is water. If you transport yam, it's 70% water. If you transport tomato, it's water. But if you turn tomato to paste or puree in that local government, you can take more and it will not spoil. So if with the mechanization, the beauty of mechanization, it helps you to improve processing within your region. Tomatoes cannot move from north to south in 2 days, 48 hours, and the quality will not deteriorate.
Absolutely.
If it moves within the region, it's faster. So mechanization helps us to do more, and Bank of Industry needs to also leverage this to set up cottage, empower SMEs to set up cottage developmental, where they have to pay in 3 years, where they have to pay in 5 years. So if we process more, we will reduce our waste by at least 30% out of that 40%. Processing is that key. BOI should do that because BOA has funds. So as we produce more, BOI, we need to see them pull their weight in the sector now.
All right, we need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Milo Snacks, snack of future champions. Milo!
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be a patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Thank you for staying with us. We're still speaking with our guest, Africanfarmer Mogaji, a food security expert, on the recent deployment of about 2,000 tractors for farmers from Belarus to enhance, food security in the country. And it's exciting news, like you have rightly pointed out. But some would say that just 2,000, when you look at the numbers of farmers in the country, isn't that too small? And then when we're looking at exports, should we now start looking at, mechanizing our farm now? We can now start doing export the way we should.
So you see, the glass is either half full or half empty, depending on what you're looking at. Over 2 decades, I look at the opportunities in adversity. I'm focused on 2,000 tractors by my calculation, and I hope we won't use these tractors the way we use it here. We would be cultivating millions of hectares this year. Let me say, Igboora, because I like practicality. Igboora, if they lay hold of your new tractors in your state, they would drive it for 8 hours and change the operator to drive it for another 8 hours operations. Because they are trying to meet up with the time and demands. So if we should not do these tractors that way, but if Igboora people handle this tractor and use it that way, it means more cultivation, more jobs, more food, more competitiveness in exports. So these 2,000 tractors, like I said earlier, is supposed to be a trigger to show the private sector that this is an opportunity, that out of about 700,000 tractors needed, we have started with 2,000, we are bringing another 2,000, and as that goes up, many private sector, many governments, many banks will now be willing to fund mechanization because government is showing that this is our direction.
And I'm thinking of another challenge that might mitigate against this, lofty, initiative that the government has birthed, on the soil of Nigeria. Tractors, there is one thing, when we talk about tractors and other mechanized equipment, they require diesel and petrol. And since the removal of fuel subsidy, there's rising cost of petrol and energy, to drive some of these machines, on our farmlands. How do you think the government can balance the rising cost of this, to help the people that will use this? So because if they have access to the energy that will drive these machines, then they won't have a problem.
Well, all machines, agricultural machines, are heavy duty globally. They all use diesel. The good thing also is that diesel has been deregulated over time. But there can be interventions, maybe with BOA, to give agri-friendly funding or give more moratorium so that people can recover that amount. But diesel will not spiral up and down like petrol. And so, but the agrarian communities around borders, you know, and those are the major agrarian communities, diesel normally, you know, spike up, especially during the dry season. So if we have interventions like we used to have in the river basins in the 95, you know, at least 95 to like 2000s, where I really started with the river basins, diesel was given to us on those farms.
Free of charge?
Not free.
Okay.
You
Subsidized.
take it on credit. They put it on the cost of the tractor and you get it on credit and you pay instrumentally with your crops. So these are interventions that can happen. And the oil companies then were also supporting bringing those diesel. Make the diesel accessible and available in locations where you have farming communities, and it won't be a problem because they can have it on credit, because it is government, you know, helping out in those things. But these things have been done before.
Right.
And for me, the Minister of Agriculture is listening. I've had the privilege of having a presentation with the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Water Resources way back July. You know, so they've been on this thing, and that's for the first time where the two ministries are asking players to come and sit with them. So there's a lot of planning that has gone into this, and we're just seeing the rewards, and there's more to come.
Interesting. We like to hear that. Now, the next matter that is of major concern when we're talking agriculture is security, as well as climate. Recently, while watching that video that I mentioned earlier from Sokoto, I saw farmers struggling because there is a river that is drying up, and so they do not have water for irrigation, so they are struggling. And then we're now talking about security as well, where some farmers cannot even access their farms any longer. As much as government is, you know, taking these major steps, this also is a critical issue that can serve as a bottleneck, you know, towards we achieving our goal. How do we also bring this into the mix at the end of the day to address them and get the judicious use of every equipment that government is bringing on board? So
while I'm excited about the tractors, I'm not excited about climate change and the preparation for climate change. There needs to be a lot of improvement. I have seen in California about 100-meter river dry up to like 3 meters.
That's what is happening.
In 2014, I saw it. I saw people who farm irrigation 500,000 acres reduced to 50,000 acres. I've seen these things happen real life.
That's right.
We're not preparing enough. We need to scale that. But I was privileged also to be talking to the advisor to the vice president yesterday, and he was talking to me about the irrigation scheme that the VP's office is about to pioneer, and the Ministry of Agriculture also is heavily looking into it. So they're looking into it. We need action fast. You know, but there's plan on the table, but we need that action fast. Climate change is bigger than security issues.
It's a security issue as well.
That's right.
It's a security issue, but it's bigger than security. Because with security, you can deploy military men, you can deploy air force. With climate change, you can't deploy anything. You're perplexed there looking at it. And that will affect the mental health of farmers and their dependents. So we need to up the game on climate change. We need to pay attention to desilting our dams. So we can take more water. We need to take a lot of, you know, in India, during rainy season, they built reservoirs under the ground, so water does not run off. It is kept under the ground, underground reservoirs across India. So during the dry season, they pump out. I think Morocco is facing a drought, but they are still doing all year round farming.
That's right.
We need more investments. If I'm to appeal to the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, climate change may mess things up if we are not fast.
And not even security issues itself.
Security issues is small when it comes to, if you see devastation of climate change, about 8 years ago, there's one of the dams of government, reservoirs. I measured it myself. it receded before the rain started by 20 meters.
Wow.
20 meters. That data, those dams, they used to send data to their head offices. They're not paying so much attention to it. So we need that game to be up because so that we don't bring in all the equipment, put the funding, and that component is challenged. Yeah. And storage, like you mentioned, we need to produce more productivity. We need to get more from the land so that we can store for the rainy days. Currently, we're not doing so well at that, but I'm hoping that next year's budget will be able to accommodate that, and we're able to plan for climate change and plan for storage, but not federal. States need to have silos.
That's the thing.
That's it.
The states in Nigeria need to own silos. If you go to Colorado, if you go to Iowa, I've been there too. It is the states and the cooperative. Poultry Association of Nigeria, what are they doing? They need to have silos. Soya Bean Association of Nigeria, they need to have silos. They need to stop depending on government. They are not parastatals of government. They are lobby groups and business groups. All of them need to raise funding and own silos. And guess what? When they own silos in locations where you have aggregation of farms, they are able to buy and sell later, making margins off it. So I'm tired of all these associations pointing to government, asking government for money. They should bring value on the table for government to support. Associations are currently not making us proud in the agri sector. Government is doing that. State governments also need to up their game. I was in Jigawa last week. You need to see what this governor has done. About 100,000 hectares of wheat being produced. They didn't tell me. I used to produce wheat. I started 2021.
In the north?
In Adija, in Jigawa, Ringim. So when we went to Ringim, I just...
Nostalgic.
Yeah. So the last 2 weeks I've renewed my hope. I saw wheat.
You've actually used that phrase, a couple of times now. It shows that you're seeing this.
Farmers need renewed hope.
Yeah, right. So could you also help us spare a thought on, I saw a video on social media that was trending regarding a cashew, is it exportation or something? And then they stock that sack with stones.
Yes.
And people started exposing them, like, look at what you're doing and all of that. So will this initiative address some of these sharp practices, or is it just something that has been ingrained in the mindset of Nigerians, some Nigerians?
No, so the thing is, this has always there, for every 12 disciples, there's a Judas. It's not the standard. It's just what makes social media. It's not the standard. If it's the standard, we export everything, cashew. We are the main destination for cashew. So bottom line is, a few bad ones make the rounds on social media, and we think that's the norm. However, we need, whoever bought that, we need to set up like mobile justice systems in the rural communities where the regulators are able, you do it, your sentence is fast. Let me talk to you about Colorado. In Colorado, water is the most expensive item. You cannot plant any crop to harvest. It's 12 inches of rain in the year. You can't plant corn. But water. So if you release water and it's not your turn to take water and you open the gates, you are spending 5 years in prison. Wow. I'm paying $5,000 every day. So even when the person is in prison, the person is working in the prison farms. Nigeria needs to farm the prisoners to produce more now. And so at the end of the day, when you look at it, $5,000 every day for maybe a 3-year sentence, when you are farming, when you get out, you continue to farm to pay. Once the rules are tough, quality will improve and our standards will improve. But we need some tough regimes there.
Yeah. We'll have to leave this conversation here. African farmer Mogaji, food security expert. So much has been said.
Absolutely.
Kudos to the federal government on the efforts it's making, and well done as well, because you've been speaking about this. That's and it's obvious that government had been listening.
That the food year is now manifesting.
Yes. It's going to be a fruitful year.
Anyway, thank you so much.